If you haven't started your radio station yet, stop watching these videos. Well, except for this one. Enough excuses. With this trusty sledgehammer, I'm gonna bust through all your excuses, all your roadblocks, all your hurdles. Be gone. We're gonna get you from here to on the air. And I'm doing it without any protective eyewear. Ha ha!
We are on the air.
To this day, minutes before I hit record, I still get emails from people saying, hey, I'm digging the content, but I still just don't feel like I have enough confidence to grab that mic and go live. Well, you know what? I have failed to do my job then. So all that changes right now. I'm so happy you're there. If you are new to broadcasting, or maybe you had a great career for 20 years, and you know the headphones have been collecting dust for the past 10, and you really want to launch your own internet radio station, well, that's my plan. So my devilish plan is to shatter any objections, just annihilate any roadblocks that are preventing you from doing something that I know deep down you probably really have a passion for. I think we spend too much time in the research phase because, oh my gosh, I mean, we're surrounded 24/7 with this gluttonous information buffet. But a lot of times that hamstrings us at the starting line. We can't even get out of the blocks because we're overthinking every step, which is 8 steps down the road, when we should only be focused on that first step. And trust me, and what I plan to do with this video is to show you that is so much easier than you think. So enough of the static, enough of the nonsense. I'm going to dive in and show you that you really need less than you think. And in this case, less isn't just more, it's more than enough. So number one, all you need is, you ready? Some kind of working computer. As long as it can run a piece of radio playout software. You know my choice, the very free, the very capable RadioDJ. It runs on Windows, and come on, the tech specs are so low, you go to the garage and you grab any dusty, rusty, old Windows laptop, and most likely you'll be up and running in no time. I mean, look at this. This old cheeseball PC tablet running a jinky versions of Windows, it even rocks RadioDJ. So now that you have your supercomputer, well, by 1996 standards, now you start loading up with software. But our goal here is simplicity. We're not loading you up with 14 different apps. Right now, I want you to install 2 very free pieces of software. One is a database program, Heidi SQL, Maria database. Like I said, free, and there's links in the description where you can find these things. And if you are PC-based, you go grab RadioDJ. And while this is not going to be a deep dive into how to install these programs, I mean, there's so many other resources online, but it's not going to take you too much time. Once you get all that set up, I just want you to dip your toe into basic functionality of RadioDJ. And you come in here into the track manager, because it all starts with importing your music library into RadioDJ, because after all, you have to have something to play, right? You have to have something to talk over. So don't, think you have to bring in 1,258 songs, the first day. I mean, just even if you brought in 50, 100 songs, don't overcomplicate this. I want to make this just the smoothest runway possible for you to take flight. So don't just, bring them all in willy-nilly, import them into one single category. We want to be smart about this. And I recommend you checking out my video about music rotations and format clocks, because this does become important down the road when you, are expanding your station. But at a minimum, I want you to create a couple music categories where these songs will live, and that means you need to make some decisions which categories do certain songs fall into. By genre, is it a rock song? Is it pop? Is it a mid-tempo? Is it slow? Is it a love song? Top 40? So You need to come up with the categories, but like I said in the beginning, maybe just create 4 to 5 categories. Simplicity equals success. This will accelerate your progress. Don't overthink this part. Now I get it, for some, even this, will cause a transformation of your eyes into glazed donuts. So don't curl up in a ball and start rocking. I do even have a lower tech solution coming up. But roll with me here, because the ultimate goal is for you to get comfortable with one of these radio playout systems. Because after all, if your ultimate goal is to be booming out your signal across the world with an internet radio station, you are going to need to learn how to use one of these pieces of software. And after you've brought in all your music, you're going to create your first rotation. And this basically is an automation. You give RadioDJ some rules to follow. What types of songs do you want to play and in which order? So you start making decisions. Well, I can go from a top 40 song to a rock song, back to, a one-hit wonder, then a slow song. All this is up to you, and it really doesn't matter at this point. And if you've seen any of my past videos, you know music alone does not an interesting radio station make. No. I mean, you really want to eventually trick this out with fun and engaging and personality-rich jingles and sweepers. But we'll get there later on. That's not the goal of this, because you're not going live with this first version, okay? This is key. Don't think you have to then spend money on an expensive, radio host platform, or try to learn how to use an audio encoder, or even hook this up to the internets, because that's not our goal right now. Our goal is just to get music playing out of, RadioDJ or whichever software that you choose. And I already think we're overcomplicating this, but at a minimum, you need a way for the software to select songs and just start playing them automatically. And this will become very evident in a second. Now, the other option is, within RadioDJ or in any other piece of software, you can just drag songs over and put them into the playlist in whichever order you want when you're doing your DJ practice sessions. Because that's where we're heading here. As for your DJ practice session, all you're going to do is hit the play button, play some tunes, talk over some song intros. But to do this right, so you really could, start your journey to pro DJ-hood, you want to be mindful of the song intro times, because the biggest sin as a radio DJ is to trample the song's intro. You're walking all over the beginning of a song when they start singing. You want to avoid that. And the one way you do that is when you bring all your songs into, a radio playout software, or if you're just doing this, more low tech, which I'll talk about in a second, you just want to maybe take notes of how much intro time each song has. Just to be very clear about that, that's the time from the very first note of the song to when the singing starts. That is your intro time. And when you're bringing songs into RadioDJ, for example, it's important to set those markers over in the cue editor. You have a start cue marker, that's the very first note of the song. The next one is the intro marker, that's when the vocals kick in. Then over here at the end of the song, it's really important to set a next start cue point. That just tells RadioDJ when to trigger the next element in a playlist. Maybe it's the next song, maybe it's a jingle. So I like to set that way before the song completely fades out, because it's just a tighter on-air execution. And then finally you have the end point, and that's just, after the song is completely faded out. Get into the good habit early on of setting all these cue points anytime you import a song. I know it sounds overwhelming, but this will pay dividends in the future, because you don't want to have to go back in, after you've already imported 1,100 songs and do this one by one. So do this, as you're importing, 10, 15, 25 songs, and you will thank me in the future. Because once you have all these cue points, then when you're ready to start your practice session, well, check this out. I'll start one of these songs, And you can look up here in the top of RadioDJ and you'll see the intro countdown timer. This is telling you how many seconds that you have before you have to shut up and the song begins. So that is very helpful to have this data. Likewise, you want to make sure you're choosing songs that have long enough intros for you to practice over. I mean, there's no point of choosing a song with a 1 second intro. How much can you say in 1 second? And it's good to mix it up because you want to be comfortable with, saying a lot in a very little amount of time, as well as, it's pretty easy to find stuff to talk about in 25 seconds. But let's say you have a song that only has a 5-second intro. That requires a little more creativity to still, pack a punch in a much shorter time frame. And if we look at these songs, ABC, When Smokey Sings, that is a 30-second intro. Aretha Franklin, Freeway of Love, 23-second intro. Berlin, the Metro, 13-second intro. And by knowing those intro times, you can then start kind of working out what you want to say. And in the old days, I'd write this down on a legal pad. Sometimes when I was starting out, I'd write out my breaks, or at least write out the talking points. It doesn't have to be word for word. And sometimes it's best if it's not so structured, because then you kind of sound stiff and it sounds like you're actually reading a script. And that's the last way you want to sound when you're on the air. You just want to sound, like you're chatting to a friend. You want to be conversational, you want to be upbeat, energetic, fun. And keep in mind, you don't need any of this. This is just for, illustrative purposes. All you need is your laptop, some speakers plugged in, or forget about the speakers. Just use your laptop's built-in speakers so you can hear the music. And back to how the practice session's going to run. In the beginning, it's probably best not just to ad-lib all this and jump in cold turkey. I think you do want to take some notes. You look at like an ABC, When Smokey Sings, 30 seconds. That's a pretty long intro. Maybe early on, I wouldn't start with such a long intro because I think you're going to be forced to think of things to say for 30 seconds, and that can be intimidating. Maybe start out with something more like 13 seconds, 15 seconds. Those could be better, more manageable intro times early on. But 30 seconds, you better have a lot of compelling things to say. Not a lot of filler, not a lot of fat. So 30 seconds could be great if you're promoting something, or if maybe you're giving, be a fun decade-based bit, because my station, Triple X 80s, all 80s all the time. Yeah, I have a lot of things that I could talk about generically because I am never live on my station. So it's all voice tracked. So I can never really say, hey, did you know when ABC did When Smokey Sings, this, that, and the other happened? No. It's all generic. So I like to throw in a lot of decade fun facts. You can talk about anything, happening in that time frame. Pop culture, movie, TV references. You can have a lot of fun with it. Other things to talk about include station-related items. You can promote your website. If you have a certain system where listeners can make requests, you talk about that. If you're running any contests, if you have any fun features you want to promote, all this is fair game and is kind of low-hanging fruit when it comes to content that you should be pushing. Now, I do have a video where I give you lots of ideas for things to talk about, because that's the last thing you want to happen when you hit the mic, or even if it's your virtual fake mic, and you open your mouth and nothing comes out. That is the biggest nightmare for a DJ. We want to avoid that. If you watch that video, I hit you with a lot of tips, and it'll give you a good foundation so you'll never be at a loss for words when you're doing your practice sessions. Once you've looked at the songs in your playlist and you kind of have an idea of the intro times and what you're going to talk about, and then it just is as simple as hitting play and you're listening to the music and you just start talking. And you want to make sure to watch the intro timer. It's counting down. Now we have 20 seconds left to finish our rap, and you keep chatting away. And maybe you hit the post at 0 and it sounds smooth and polished, or you're done when you're done, but you just don't want to step on the vocals. Like we're 5 seconds away from the vocals starting, and like right here, that's kind of a loose intro. So then you hear that wasn't perfectly timed, and that's why it's really important when you're importing all your songs to make sure you get those cue points right. And okay. Most of you don't want to wait 3.5 minutes to talk again. So while the song's playing, you can collect your thoughts, look at the next song. So Aretha Franklin, 23 seconds, the intro time. And when you're ready, you just move the mouse down and you see here, this is the kind of the play line. This shows you how much time the song has left. And then there's a red line to the right. That's your 10-second mark. So you better be ready to rock that mic before Aretha Franklin comes on. So if you are ready, just click down here and now you see we're in that 10-second zone. It starts flashing. Okay, now you have less than 10 seconds to collect your thoughts. And if automated button is illuminated, RadioDJ will trigger the next song just like this. There we go. And now you're on. You start talking. You watch the intro clock. Now you have 15 seconds left. And you keep spinning the magic. And like I said, you can dump out whenever you want. You finish your break, whether it's right on when the intro starts or it's before it. And when you're ready for your next talk break, you just click down here and you watch the remaining clock. We know we have 10 seconds now. It starts flashing, so you better be ready. So here we go, 1 second. Keeping your mullet rocking with only the best 80s music. This is XXX 80s. I am Jammin' Jeff Scott. You go pull on your members only jacket and get ready for more 80s fun. And there we go. And then just keep practicing song after song and you will start feeling a little more comfortable. And it's also key to kind of mix up the topics of things you talk about. If you're a decade-based station, or if you do play songs from a number of decades, that is all great material. Like I said, mention TV, movie, and pop culture references, but in a generic way if you're not live. And if you plan to go live, well, yeah, then you can truly, announce songs, talk about the artist, the actual song title. That's all fair game. But if your station will be voice track, meaning all your bits will be pre-recorded, then you have to have a more generic approach, generic talking points that still relate to your station and your format. Okay, so if we check here, Billy Idol, Dancing with Myself, 13 seconds, and maybe we want to do maybe a 80s decade bit based on 80s movies. So we could do something like this. Here we go. From I'll Be Back to They're Here, no decade said more with less words. And all the best music from that decade plays here on XXX 80s. Have fun with this. And like I said, creativity should be the order of the day. And look up fun facts about, let's say you are a decade-based station. There's tons of trivia. There's tons of kind of pre-written content out there. And use ChatGPT if you need some help coming up with some ideas of things to talk about. But the main thing is just to start talking. Start practicing. Song by song, you will get better. And if you didn't like how that break sounded, well, you just cue up another song and you try again. That's why this is such a solid way to practice. And whether you're using playout software like RadioDJ or a very low-tech solution like iTunes, it doesn't matter. The thing is, you just want a system that could play, one song after the other for you. And that's really the number one goal of why we're hanging out right now, is to develop your on-mic confidence. Because the moment that you feel more confident about your DJ skill set, then your chances of actually launching that internet radio station jump stratospherically. But it all begins with you becoming more comfortable as that radio DJ, which I know down deep you've always wanted to do. And a great first step, if you haven't already, is to dive in to my very free and pretty deep resource, the RadioDJ 101 mini course. This has been running for a while. Maybe you've already taken it once. Jump in again, like I said, for free. Right to your inbox, I am dropping radio gold. I have 5 to 7 emails that I send you over a week. And they really will take you from zero to evolving radio hero in no time. So please check the link in the description, get signed up for this. And the great thing, you can use what we're talking about in this video. You could practice real time using radio software as you're taking the course. And I think doing it that way expedites the learning process. So don't pass up this opportunity. Another BS excuse I gotta take the sledgehammer to is, but I don't have fancy microphones or headphones or an audio mixer. I barely have this old laptop from 2002. I don't give a damn. Honestly, at this point, you don't need a microphone. You don't need headphones. You don't need an audio mixer. Poof, all those excuses gone. I mean, honestly, this is where it gets really good. You don't even need a laptop. This fancy playout software, not now. Bookmark it, come back to it later. If all you're looking to do is to boost your confidence on the mic, just to get a better feel for what that's like, talking over songs and just coming up with creative content on your own, maybe ad-libbing some fun radio breaks, well, you don't need any of the fanciness. Grab your phone and just load up some songs if you already don't have them in whatever app you use to play music, iTunes, even put on Spotify. And when one song ends and the next song begins, that's when you go into DJ mode and you just speak out loud, do your break live, and that's one way to accomplish all this with such a low barrier to entry. No fumbling and fussing with installing software and importing music. Granted, I'm not saying you shouldn't learn how to do that because eventually that does become mandatory. But baby steps at this point. I just want to get you, talking and rocking your own virtual mic because you don't need a microphone. No DJ ever begins, with a hot mic in their mouth. I mean, all of us at a very young age, for me, I started when I was 15, but oh my God, even long before then, 10 years old, I was just yapping into a little cassette recorder, doing my little fake DJ show. Horrible, of course, but that's how I was rolling back then. And at least it allowed me to practice and kind of, get into the groove of what it might like one day to actually be on the radio. So once again, you need a music source. Hey, you may have a turntable, you may have some 45. Your CD player, if it still works, turn it on and pot that baby up. Just get into the habit. Anytime you hear a song come on, well, boom, go into DJ mode and talk that baby up. Talk over the intro of the song like you will do eventually when you're on the air at your radio station. Another super easy tip, the next time in your car, rolling down the road and you hear, a tune come on the radio, well, talk that intro up. You start practicing anytime you hear music. And come on, the cockpit of your car, there is no greater mobile studio. So definitely turn drive time into practice time. And listen up here, because this is also equally important. At this point, the goal is not mastery. Give me a freaking break. It took me years to even get close to barely listenable. And I think, especially these days, if you've seen any of the studies, perfectionism is at an all-time high, and that is so incredibly corrosive to progress. When you think of perfectionism, think of tear gas. Let's say this is your room with your RadioDJ software and your virtual microphone, and this is you. But you need to get from here to here, your little radio studio, let's call it. But a can of tear gas hits the floor in your radio room, and there's no way you could get to, your studio because this noxious, toxic tear gas is preventing you from practicing, becoming a better DJ. And that is exactly what perfectionism does. It's just as toxic as tear gas because it prevents you from getting to where you need to be, where you want to go. And I know where you want to go. You want to, get behind the mic. You want to get better. You want to get to the point where you launch your internet radio station, and you do it with pride because I know down deep It's something you've wanted to do for a very long time. So screw being perfect, because news break, none of us ever are. I'm far from perfect. And I listen back to some air checks, even of my final days on the air, and I always think, I could have done that a little better. I could have maybe trimmed that phone call a little tighter. I could have cut out some extra words. That's the wonderful thing about this business, any craft. There's always moments for improvement, but you're never going to improve if you don't start on the journey. You're never going to improve if you don't, start putting out material that you can actually analyze for future improvement. Back to the no-tech solution of you just yapping when you hear a song come on your phone. That's good, but even better, find a source of music on your computer that you could play, song intros, and then use your voice recorder on your phone to record your, DJ breaks. So then you can listen back. Because without review and critical listening, there is no improving. So you always need to be listening back, taking notes, thinking, you know what, next time I do this, I should maybe do this, and this differently. And you maybe start to hear some crutch words where you're always using the same words because they're familiar. They're kind of like the and ahs conversationally. But I used to have a couple where I'd say so, I forget what they were, but I had a program director one time call me on it, and I'm so happy he did, because without that critical analysis and that helpful feedback, I never would have, slayed that bad habit. And that's the only way to take a machete to the things that aren't working, cut them off to make room for better habits. So always record yourself, listen back with a critical ear, and don't beat yourself up. Hey, we all started as a beginner. Whatever your craft, we were crap in the beginning, and eventually we did achieve some level of professionalism, mastery, or just, a level of comfortability where you no longer are nervous to turn on the mic for fear of abject suckage. I want to get you past that. And it is okay to blow radio chunks in the beginning. We all do. There's no way to improve unless you put in the work and you make small incremental progress along the way. Here's the deal. If you were to set off on a road trip from Los Angeles to New York City and you plot a course, but if that course even changes 2% every day. So every day as you're driving, you continue to, stray just 2% off course. Well, by the end of your road trip, you're going to be far from New York City. By some estimates, that deviation could be as great as 500 miles. You're going to end up in Toronto, Canada. You're no longer even going to be in the same country you intended. So that's just to show you that small progress over time can lead to big change. And that small progress begins right now. After you finish watching this video, you cue up some songs, you start the process, you start, your virtual DJ banter. And in this RadioDJ mini course I just talked to you about, I provide you with a lot of ideas for talk breaks. I give you some quote unquote liner cards so you have things to say. But if not, the basics are always a great start. Your station name, your name, and always find new ways to say old things. Put your own creative twist on whatever comes out of your mouth. And that is another way to position yourself well above anyone else. Because, the majority of internet radio I hear is kind of just the bottom of the barrel. It's just a sea of mediocrity out there. So it's not very hard to leapfrog over everybody else. And the simplest, most natural way to do that is just, come on, pot up the you, bring on your special sauce. And that's a way to win, with any format, with any station, with any business. But it all begins with right now, day one, practicing and then mastering the basics, then continuing to up the stakes, continuing to kick that up a notch or two every time that you do practice. And come on, honestly, if you follow this, you're only going to get better. From where you are now, there's no way to not improve if you give it a good solid try and put in some, I'm not saying an hour every day, even 10 minutes a day. Practice, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs. And I think you're really going to see a marked improvement, not only in your skills, but your confidence level. And the better you feel about yourself, the faster you're going to get your station on the air. And that's our ultimate goal, right? So I hope this helped. I just felt now is the time to do it because, the emails don't stop coming. I hear it almost every day from people who do have such a hunger and a desire to set off on this exciting path called radio, a path that has brought me so much joy over the decades. And I really want you to have a taste of that too. It's never going to be the same, and I'm going to be completely honest, and I'd really love to hear your input, because for me, having been on the quote-unquote real FM radio, that excitement, that electricity of actually rocking a live mic, I'm going to say it, and I hope this isn't meant to dissuade you or take any wind out of your sails, but it's just different. It's not the same as, speaking into a mic on an internet radio station. But if you've never had that experience of being on FM radio, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What is it like? What was it like the first couple times that you did go live on an internet radio station? God, I really hope that you did feel that excitement, passion, electricity that I used to feel, because that's the goal here. So please share with me in the comments what your experience has been like or what you hope it will be like. Hey, we're all on this journey together. I've joked about this, but this really is our safe place in a very noisy, chaotic world to talk about this wonderful medium known as radio. So let's keep talking about it. Keep me posted on your progress. Jump into the RadioDJ 101 mini course. I think that's a great place to start. And I'd love to hear how you progress. Because the journey from blowing off the dust from that old Windows laptop here to going live on your internet radio station over here is not as long and scary of a journey as you may think. It is so much easier, but it all begins with you putting in some of this work. So get to it. I can't wait to hear about your progress. I'm so happy we had this chat together. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a long time. If you got anything out of it, I'd love for you to share a little of that love. A like and subscribe would go a long way. Thank you so much. I am Jeff, the Radio DJ dude, and until our next little radio rendezvous, you keep rocking those mics all over the world.